Hello, my name is Kazu. Nice to meet you. This is part of my 365-day daily challenge speaking English for 30 minutes straight using TOEFL style questions. No script, just spontaneous answers, just like the real exam. Let's get started. Today is day 271. Today, 271 day. Yeah, like, not like, sorry. This is my, I tended to say like so often. This is my mouth ritual, mouth habit. I I don't know how to say it. Anyway, actually, I want to wake up. I want to always wake up at 5 a.m. That I haven't been able to do that so far. And sometimes, I could wake up at 5, but recently I haven't. I want to make it a habit. So in order to wake up early, I must sleep early. So yes, because I have my morning routine, and I feel like it is really important to do that because this is a kind of a trigger to start the day effectively. And a friend of mine who has the same MBTI, he said, I actually ENFJ. We tend to think all the time. We tend to end up thinking something all the time. So we need to take a rest for our brains. One of the good one of the good countermeasure, one of the good answer, one of the good answers is to meditate, because you try to think about only one thing, like breathing and breathe out, breathe in and breathe out. That's really good for our brains. Also, like going to a sauna is also a good solutions. Yeah, one of the good solutions. Because when you are in a sauna room, it's just hot, really hot. So you can't think about anything but hot. So, you know, like forcefully you think about only one thing. That's a good situation for ENFJ. NF, like NF people, because that opportunity, that situation uh, force us to think about one thing. So that's really good for us. Maybe I'll do that before going to sleep. Actually, today is I'm not doing well uh, about speaking English. I feel it. Okay, let's review. Now that I think about it, it was too heavy. And I was talking about the time when I ate too much amount of lunch. At that time when I was eating the lunch, I think, it was the right amount. But after that, I thought it was too heavy. Like when you order something, like you feel like you're really hungry, so you tend to order uh, too much amount of the meal. This is kind of my typical mistake. My mother also does that sometimes. So, yeah. I was supposed to wake up at 7:30 yesterday, but I couldn't. And I went back to sleep and I woke up at 9:30. Then I was going to leave at home at like 10. So just 3 minutes. I had 3 minutes, so I couldn't do anything after waking up. That's not good. That's not good way to use weekends. Wake up late, like sleep late. Not good. Sleep early, wake up early. That's the good one. And I wanna do that every day. Like regularity is king. One of the sleeping specialists said that regularity is king. You can watch that video on YouTube. It's one of the TED Talk. Yeah, where the sleeping specialist was speaking. Okay, when Japanese people try to sound cool while speaking English, when Japanese people try to sound cool while speaking English, they lower their voice. They tend to lower their voice. When Japanese people try to sound cool while they are speaking English, they tended to lower their voice. They tended to speak in a low voice. When Japanese people try to sound cool while speaking English, okay, they tended to lower their voice, or they tended to speak in a low voice. Since I skipped quite a few days during this challenge, technically I already failed. Yeah, technically I already failed, but I thought it was a shame if I quit in the middle, quit halfway through. So I'd rather not choose to quit. Yeah, I decided to keep doing this. Yeah, here I am. Now here I am. I since skipped quite a few days during this challenge. This is supposed to be 365-day daily challenge, but technically I've already failed because I skipped quite a few days. I talked about what I did on this last year. I thought I talked about what I did on yesterday, last year, but I didn't. Today's events. I talked about yesterday's events yesterday. This day is the 71st day. Day 71. Day 271. I tend to say like too often. A verbal habit. A verbal habit. It's a verbal habit. I'm not sure how to say it. Verbal habit. Like is one of my verbal habit. Like I say like very often. I want to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, but I haven't been able to do that consistently so far. Sometimes I've been able to wake up at 5, but recently I haven't. I want to make it a habit. In order to wake up early, I need to go to bed early. Go to bed early. Go to bed early. I have a morning routine. And I feel like it's really important because it helps me start the day effectively. It helps me. I have a morning routine. I feel like it's really important because it helps me start the day effectively. A friend of mine who has the same MBTI type told me that as an ENFJ, I tend to think all the time. We tended to think all the time. We tend to end up thinking about something all the time. About something all the time. We always end up thinking about something. So we need to give our brains a rest. So we need to give our brains a rest. One good way to deal with this is to meditate. One good way to deal with this is to meditate. Because when you meditate, you try to focus on just one thing, like breathing in and breathing out. Because when you meditate, you try to focus on one thing, like breathing in, breathing out. That's really good for our brains. Going to a sauna is also a good solution. When you're in a sauna, it's so hot that you can't think about anything except the heat. So you ended up focusing on just one thing. That kind of situation is good for ENFJ or maybe for NF types in general. Because we tend to think about something all the time. Because that kind of situation forces us to focus on one thing, which is really good for us. It helps our brains rest. It gives our brains a rest. It gives our brains a rest. Maybe I'll do that before going to bed. I'm not speaking English very well today. I'm not speaking English very well today. I can feel it now that I think about it, how it was. While I was eating, I was talking about the time when I ate too much for lunch. I ate too much for lunch. While I was eating, I thought it was the right amount, but afterward, I realized it was too heavy. You're really hungry, you tend to order too much food. This is kind of a typical mistake I make. This is kind of a typical mistake I make. My mother also does that sometimes. I was supposed to wake up at 7:30, but I couldn't. I was asleep and I woke up at 9:30. I had to leave home. At around 10. I only had about 30 minutes. After waking up. That's not good. That's not a good way to spend a weekend. That's not a good way to spend a weekend. Going to bed late and waking up late is not good. Going to bed early and waking up early is the ideal. the ideal っていうんだ。I want to do that every day. Regularity is king. One sleep specialist said that regularity is king. It was in a TED talk by a sleep specialist. When Japanese people try to sound cool while speaking English, they tend to lower their voices. Okay, great. So I want to go back to reviewing. I'm really tired today. I'm exhausted. Today's events. I was talking about yesterday's events. I was talking about what happened yesterday. So a friend of mine, his birthday was last week, so we gather at Sensoji Temple near Sensoji Temple to celebrate his birthday, because there are lots of izakayas around there. So and It's a kind of annual event, annual tradition for our group. And after we have the drinks, we usually go to Sensoji Temple to draw omikuji. Omikuji is Japanese fortune slips. Yeah, we draw omikuji every year at Sensoji Temple. I draw a fortune slip at Sensoji Temple is apparently more likely to. So it is Sensoji is known as a place where people often draw bad luck. It's likely to draw bad luck more often. How can I say it? There is a high chance. It is likely that. It's likely that you draw a bad fortune. There is a high chance that you draw bad luck. There are more bad fortunes than other fortunes. At Sensoji, bad fortunes are more common than at other temples. Wait a minute. At Sensoji, bad fortunes are more common than at other temples. In fact, I draw bad luck 2 years in a row. 2 years ago and the last year. Then finally, I drew omikuji today, and I got the best possible fortune. My efforts will. It says my efforts will finally pay off, and my wishes will come true, and everything will go well. Shows luck. So let me explain fortune slips. A fortune slip shows your luck by rank. For example, great blessing, middle blessing. Great blessing is what I drew yesterday. Great blessing, middle blessing, small blessing, or sometimes bad fortune instead of ranks. But Meiji Jingu's fortune slip, it doesn't use ranks. Instead of ranks, it contains a poem. That's it. That's why I like it. Anyway, and those poems are really good. Let me explain how the fortune slip system works. First, you shake a long wooden box. Usually, the box has 6 sides hexagon. At the bottom surface of either side, there is a small hole. When you shake the box, a thin stick comes out through the hole. a number is written on the stick, then you open the drawer with the same number, and inside you find a piece of paper that is the fortune slip. So yesterday I went to, a friend of mine had his birthday just last week. So it's a kind of an annual tradition for our group. After having some drinks, a friend of mine had his birthday last week, so we got together near Sensoji Temple to celebrate because there are lots of izakayas around there. After we had some drinks, we went to Sensoji to draw fortune slips. It's kind of another annual tradition for our group. So after having some drinks, we usually go to Sensoji Temple to draw omikuji. Omikuji are Japanese fortune slips. We draw omikuji at Sensoji Temple every year. Apparently, I draw a fortune slip at Sensoji. Sensoji is known as a place where people often draw bad fortune. Sensoji is known as a place where people often draw bad fortune. You are more likely to draw bad fortune there than at other temples. That's what I wanted to say. Another good way to clear my mind. Okay. I want to go to the bathroom to pee. Yeah, this time I finally got the best fortune slip, right? What was that? I got the best possible fortune. Finally I drew omikuji and I got the best possible fortune. It says my efforts will finally pay off, my wishes will come true, and everything will go well. Draw a fortune slip. Fortune slip shows your luck by rank. For example, great blessing, middle blessing, small blessing, or sometimes bad fortune. Instead of ranks, it contains a poem. I was really happy because I had to draw a bad fortune twice in a row, and every time I accepted that result, because if you cannot only a good result, but both a bad ones and good ones, because it's not fair. like only, you know, like your life. When you are really, you know, fun or happy, maybe you think you want to live more. But if something bad happens, like you suddenly, you don't want to, you know, live anymore. That's not fair. You must accept both. That's my opinion. Thank you so much.